The views expressed in the following program may not reflect the views of the station management or ownership.
I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. Yes, you are the best.
Hello, and welcome to The Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station. I'm Rizwan Manji, and we have...
Ismail Bashi. Hello, everybody. How is everybody out there in the radio world listening to us?
This is our first Tuesday show. It's our third live show.
Thank you. Rizwan is known for his perception of the obvious.
We've not been doing a very good job of taking phone calls because we talk a lot. I'm going to put out the number, and we have a really awesome guest today, so I'm gonna try really hard to take phone calls, but we have a pretty packed show, as we've been trying to give like really packed shows. But I'm gonna give the number out. It's 1-888-539-2980. 888-539-2980. That's 888 KFWB 980. That's the fun way to
I'll tell you what, if you can say that number in Hindi, come on, you can do it.
No, I can't.
888 539 2980. How's that?
Perfect.
Perfecto.
And from the voice of the Rosetta Stone, we now have phone numbers.
So, Riz, what did you do? What did you do last night?
What did I do last night?
Yes.
Well, we were here doing the show.
After that.
And we had our kids with us. So that was fun.
So tell everybody what great fathers we were. So we took our kids out after the show.
Should we say that? Because it was, by the time we got out of here, it was 8:30. By the time we got to a restaurant,
that's why
it was at 9.
That's my point.
Is that actually a good thing?
We took our kids. I don't
know if you want to be talking about that.
Well, there's a chance that Child Protective Services are listening.
Especially since the guest that we have is sitting in the studio right now.
Well, that's my whole point. We are going to be talking about parenting today. And, you know, we are parents. I have 2 beautiful girls, Laila and Rania. And Rizwan has 3 wonderful kids.
I have 2 beautiful girls and a handsome boy. Ayana. Oh my God, I was like, what are their names? That's really bad. Ayana, Arik, and Ayla.
Ladies and gentlemen, the award for the Father of the Year goes to Rizwan Manji.
I'm really
Okay, I have to
today.
read this text that Riz sent me on Father's Day to me and a friend of ours, Sean. This is him texting me from Las Vegas. Happy Father's Day to some horribly unfit fathers like ourselves.
Yeah, that was me. I actually want to, because we have this... can you tell us a little bit about the guest, and then I want to lead into this?
Well, on our show today, we have someone who is going to be talking about nonviolent parenting. Now, our guest, our expert on nonviolent parenting is Emily Mariano, who happens to also be a friend of mine and is a parent at the preschool that all our kids go to. When I say our kids, I mean mine or Emily's and mine. And she is going to talk about nonviolent parenting, which is going to be a very interesting topic because being South Asian, you know, if you're Indian, Pakistani, and also, you know, in most cases, we grew up in households where parenting was very traditional, you know.
Traditional as in a lot of yelling?
Well, I don't want to say it was violent, certainly not in my house.
You're being so PC about it.
Am I being PC? Okay.
There was a lot of yelling going on.
Well, there's a lot of yelling going on in my house every day. I think it's good for your lungs. So we are actually going to have a different perspective, and I think it's a very healthy perspective. And I think you know, everybody needs to hear it. So we are really excited to have Emily in the studio today, and she's going to be talking to us, you know, about nonviolent parenting.
She has a website, girafferoad.com, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And if you want to take a look at it before she comes on, that's okay. She'll be on after the break.
Okay, and should we give them a little update about Salman Khan?
Yes, that would be all you.
No, okay.
First of all, have you spoken to him? Did you text him?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Why not? Text him right now.
Okay, I'll text him right now as we speak. But we just read that he has come out and apologized, and he's
Well, his father apologized.
well, initially his father apologized, and and said that that was something completely wrong. And I think Salman, I also read, I have not spoken to him, but I believe that he has apologized. But the National Council for Women, the NCW, has also asked for a public apology from him. Because he is someone who is a very influential character.
The thing that was interesting to me is that he said it, and if you read the whole transcript of what he said it and then right away
apologized.
He said, I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
So he realized right away that it was wrong, and he acknowledged it. However, he said it, but
but
I think
in remembering what Dr. Ainsley said yesterday, that we should never go in with our first thought, especially on social media or on the air or in an interview. We should always censor or edit it.
Everybody remember that when we say something that's
And
inappropriate.
please forgive us for that, okay?
In advance, because it may happen within this hour.
No, but the bottom line is that we are human and we are flawed like any other human being, and we will make mistakes. And God knows, I know nothing. I claim to know nothing. The smarter one out here is my guru, Mr. Manji.
Thank you for
Yes.
acknowledging that.
I am. And I'll take that $5 you just promised me.
My favorite topic, which I know we want to talk more about Bollywood, but I do want to talk about the Senate. So can we talk a little bit about the Senate?
It was a sad day yesterday.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. Anyway,
So,
why don't you tell them what you're referring to?
So there was the filibuster, and
Yes.
then the Senate agreed to
There were
have a
4
vote.
measures on the docket.
Yeah.
Right? For gun
I
control.
don't know exactly what they are, but there was 4 measures, and
Important measures, like people who are on the terror list should not have easy access to buying, assault weapons, stuff like that.
no fly, no buy. Yeah.
Right.
Everything was voted down. Like that. Yeah.
47-53.
That's
Pretty much, it means that the NRA owns us.
well, it owns the
Corporate-
senators.
Yeah.
Because technically, the percentage of people in the United States who are in favor of gun laws, it's I think over 80%. Like these are even within a population of gun owners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like even the NRA members, I think 80% are in favor of look, I don't want to have.
Exactly.
So it's unfortunate.
Yep. Sad day. I mean, they tried. They tried really hard, Senator Murphy, and Senator Feinstein from California. But anyway, that did not happen yesterday. So
let's talk about happier
Something more-
stuff.
something more
have you
uplifting?
Have you seen Finding Dory?
I have not seen, but my daughter is going tomorrow to Finding Dory with her camp. They have a day trip, and she's really excited about it. But also that puts me in a predicament because I have 2 daughters, and the second one is not going. And I'm pretty sure when she goes to her preschool tomorrow, most people are going to say, "Oh yeah, I saw it on the weekend." So I might have to. If you don't see me for the show tomorrow, I'll be at Finding Dory.
It's breaking all records, and
Well, that was expected, and it's such a great, I mean, the first one was amazing. And this is Ellen, this is her big, I mean, not that she has many big moments.
My favorite animated movie and I just saw it recently, and honestly, it is my favorite animated movie of all time is Zootopia. Did you see it?
Oh, I was just going to say, I saw it on Sunday. I saw it, you know me.
You saw it at the Dollar Theater?
I don't get paid. I
What's
do
the
I do the show for hugs. So I take my kids, unlike Rizwan.
Not from me. I will not argue.
Rizwan takes his kids to the ArcLight where he pays $16 for a ticket, and a family of 4, you end up paying $100. I, on the other hand, I make my kids wait for a month or 2. Finding Dory might be 4 months, and I take them to the Regency Valley Plaza in North Hollywood, where we pay on Sundays and Tuesdays $1.50 or $1.75 now.
But the popcorn is the same price.
The confectionery they don't discount that. So we actually saw Zootopia, and I was blown away. I honestly loved the movie. I don't think my older daughter was actually scared.
It was a little scary.
Yeah, not the younger one, but the older one. They had those moments, and she was like, like totally, like I don't want to watch this.
It was a little scary. I actually saw it twice.
I loved it. I can't believe we actually like the same movie.
Yeah.
We
strange.
never like anything with reference to movies or TV shows,
But did you? So I watched it twice because I watched it in the theater with all my kids,
Right.
And some friends, and then we have a mutual friend that's in the movie that does one of the voices.
Which I only realized because I'm such an IMDb junkie. So I go home and I'm like, oh, who was this? Who was that? Oh, that was cool. This one was this one, and I see it's Geeta Reddy.
Geeta Reddy is the
And
yoga
she
instructor.
played- yes.
Yeah, the naked yoga instructor.
Yes.
It was strange how I was affected by.
Were you uncomfortable?
I was like, but it was an elephant, and elephants don't wear clothes, so it was very
she's like
strange for
this-
me to be like, what is going on? She's naked, but she
I
was
know
an
her,
elephant.
and she's naked, but it's her voice.
But so
No, I get it.
I
I get
saw a screening at Disney because they had a private screening for her.
Yes,
I was
thanks
invited.
for the invite, Geeta Reddy. Let me see you host the show with me when Rizwan is not here.
So that was it. Was great to see it. I saw it twice, and I loved it.
It was
both
it was
times.
Disney does not give us any favors or money, but I have to say I loved it. It's been a long time that I've actually come out of a movie and I said, wow, that was a great film. I loved the message, I loved the movie, and I loved everything about it.
All right, I think we're probably gonna need to go to a break because we want to bring on this guest. But I wanna lead it in with this clip of my. Oh, we'll do it when we come back. You're listening to the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station.
Hi guys, thank you for listening to the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM. If you're interested in submitting a topic, sponsoring a segment, or advertising on the show, send an email to contact@desi980am.com. That's contact@desi980am.com.
Make some noise for the Desi Boys! D-Boys! D-Boys!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM. This is Ismail Bashi, along with my wonderful co-host
Rizwan Manji.
And we are really excited because right now in our studios we have Emily Mariano.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, thank you.
So we are really happy to have you and talk about nonviolent parenting because clearly Rizwan and I are not winning Father of the Year award anytime soon. And especially if you ask our spouses. We're winning it from the bottom up. Anyway.
We need your help.
We need your help. And I think it's a really interesting and important discussion because, we, especially me, I grew up in India, in sort of a traditional household, which in Rizwan's word is a scream fest household. But, and Rizwan grew up in Canada, and we just wanted to get what nonviolent parenting was about because I think I could really use it. And so if you could tell us a little more about...
Yeah, start off with what you do.
What do you do?
All right. Well, first of all, I think parenting is a really hard job. So first, take a breath and take it easy on yourself that it's a really hard job and that everyone who takes on this adventure has got great challenges ahead of them. And we've all come from many different backgrounds and have had childhoods of our own that we bring with us to our parenting. So we're all trying something new. And nonviolent parenting is definitely a new perspective and new paradigm of parenting. And
it started in the concept of non-violent communication, which is what this is based on, right? It started in the 70s. Did I read this correctly? By this guy who I can't remember his name right now, but I'm sure.
Marshall Rosenberg developed nonviolent communication in the 60s.
Yeah.
And it is based partially there is definitely elements of nonviolent communication in that, which is of the belief that it's human nature for us to be naturally giving, and that we've been educated in society to be violent. That
So
I just looked at his smile.
No, I think it's an important point. I think so. by to our basic core level we are giving.
Right.
So is it social conditioning, society that makes us
Violent.
Yeah.
Yes, which is contrary to what many people believe. Human nature, sometimes we've heard, is to be violent, to be selfish, to be competitive. And we hear that so much.
I just want to say that you just described Rizwan in one sentence.
Right. I mean, we hear that so much,
And I'm
especially
back.
in our dominant culture, so often that it's be first, right?
Yeah.
In nonviolent communication, it's very much believed that it's our human nature. We are born giving. We are born to be naturally giving.
So we're not-
And we're educated to be violent.
Okay,
And
so we're
that-
not naturally inclined to be competitive?
No.
So then what happened to me?
Well, right. Our dominant, like for example, our dominant culture, you could sit down for a TV show at night, right? You
Yeah.
sit down with your family, and the prime times of television, those 2 hours, are some of the most violent hours of TV.
Yeah.
Our heroes and our heroines are usually the most violent characters, and even the climax of the TV show is the most violent part of the show. We are educated in so many ways, both in our culture, our education, in so many ways, that violence is rewarded, is something that we enjoy.
Okay.
And we are shown in so many ways to be violent.
Game of Thrones,
Exactly.
which I'm a big fan of.
Right.
Not condemning it.
And how much we look forward.
I'm not a fan of violence. I'm a fan of Game of Thrones. Just wanted to put that out.
Right.
there.
I wanted to go back to the competitiveness though, just because that thing stuck out to me. But isn't there a form of like healthy competition? Like, doesn't that help us sort of move forward? If there's no competition, then how do we sort of move forward? I don't know.
There's
I guess,
that, but I'm going to talk about how it actually what it does, what competition and how these praise and rewards are actually become violent for children.
okay,
So I'm
okay.
going to look at it from
Yeah,
this
that
perspective
makes sense.
of how, well, isn't it supposed to be a good thing that we teach our children to want to strive for this and be competitive, and I'm going to reward you for this and I'm going to punish you for this. So
Yes,
praise and rewards are thought of as, if you're going to do this well, then I'm going to give you this because you're being a good girl or you're being a bad boy. But if you don't do this, then you're going to have a timeout, and I'm going to take this away from you. And we view these as two entirely different things. This is the good child. This is the bad child. But essentially, what they are the same thing, two sides of the same coin. But this coin does not really pay off too well, and it teaches the child not to be motivated intrinsically that anything is rewarding. So instead of say the child hits another child, and the parent says, don't hit that child, and punishes that child for hitting the child.
happens
Another
every day.
Right. So I'm
Times
bringing
a
up
day
a
to me,
common example, right?
Yeah.
So the parent will punish this child by maybe shaming the child. This is some of the violent violent tactics that are used: shaming the child, embarrassing the child in front of her friends, using language like "this was bad," "you were bad for doing this," calling out the behavior, never explaining why we don't hit, which is what would the alternative be. Not explaining, punishing the behavior instead of finding out why you don't hit.
That's true.
And so instead, the child never learns why hitting is bad, but will instead say, well, next time I'm just going to hit when my mom doesn't see me. Right?
Yeah.
So this is how punishment and rewards work. Their child's not learning internally why they don't want to hit.
Yeah.
Because hitting, they didn't internally ingest why is hitting not a kind thing to do. So getting back to why nonviolent parenting, it aims to connect with the child. It aims to make a connection with the child and the parent. And one thing that we do in the class, in the very first class, is get with the parents and we go around and we ask them, what kind of child do you want your child to grow up to be? and everybody goes around the room and they say different things.
Yeah.
Like, I want my child to grow up to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
to be kind, to be empathetic, to be socially responsible. And we write down all these words.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I say, or we say about that is, so how do we get there from here? If you want this child to be kind and you want this child to be compassionate and you want them to be socially responsible, what do you need to do as a parent to get there?
Yeah.
So this takes us through the whole 9-week course, in addition to all the other things that we study in the class, including brain development and empathy and connecting communication and healing and all the other curriculum that we do. But we always bring it back to, what kind of child are you trying to raise? What kind of human being do you want? And what kind of connection are you trying to have? Most importantly, what kind of relationship do you want with your child?
So, and forgive me if you already said that. So, non-violent parenting, it doesn't always or necessarily only refer to physical violence.
Absolutely not.
So, can you tell us a little more about that?
Certainly. Absolutely, it does include physical violence. There is that getting around, no spanking, no hitting, absolutely no tolerance for that. Although I'd say in the dominant culture, there's this thing around spanking where, I believe the statistics are so high on spanking of how many people are actually spanking their children in this country.
Yeah.
Of how many people are really doing it, and then the shame around that, right? So many people who are doing it, but then the shame that's associated with that. So
With the spanker.
right,
Yeah.
with the parents who are doing that. So instead of having the shame around that, we say to these parents who are spanking that, this happens. People spank, but it is not okay to spank, but we're going to, find alternatives for this and find better ways for you to heal around this and make better connections with your children instead of shaming the parent, right? But go on.
I was saying that a lot of you have classes, and a lot of the parents who are coming obviously are having trouble, having issues with this situation. I get when you're talking about it theoretically, I get all of this, and we've heard about it a lot. I guess it's hard to implement when you're going through the, I actually want you to hear something that happened. I feel like I want to know how I handled it.
Sure.
But when you're both parents are working and you're tired and your child won't go to sleep and the theory just kind of goes out of whack, and you get into this moment of like, why won't you just go? Michael, can you play? This is my daughter Isla at 11 o'clock at night when she's refusing to go to bed.
Okay.
Are you calm down? What's the problem? Tell me what the problem is. You need to use your words.
My wife's gonna kill me.
You need to use your words.
How terrible was that? I was seriously, it was so late at night. She was crying.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do? I feel like I kept it more calmer than I usually am, right?
Yeah, that's not the tape we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear the real Rizwan. Hey!
Well, I feel for you. It's hard. 11 o'clock, you're both still up with a crying child. It's hard.
Well, for every single person who is a parent, I think it's probably the hardest job. One of the
Yes.
hardest jobs. It's a lot harder on moms. It's
hard on dads.
It's hard on
I
dads.
can appreciate what you were going through. I mean, really, that's not easy.
The hard part, I feel, for me is, and this is a
yeah.
question.
Do tell us, what do
Yeah.
you feel for yourself?
The hard part
Yeah.
for me is that the kids constantly, like in any situation, they constantly prefer to have their mom solve the problem for them, and it's hard for me. Then it takes everything sort of a lot longer. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like it takes a lot longer for me to do everything, so I get frustrated, and then we get into this situation because there's always when my wife isn't there, when she's out of town, or if they have no choice, so they have to sort of follow the rules because dad's there. But when there's another person there, they're very good at playing us against each other. And how do you get out? I need to take your classes. I need to come take your classes.
No, it's so hard when they have two parents, and then throw in the two parents who've got two different ideas, and then, right? It's so much more complicated.
No. Why don't you finish that?
But I think, I still always think sometimes when you get into the minutia of the days, it's really hard to keep your eye on the prize of what do I want my child to be? Who is this adult? The two prizes you always want to keep your eye on, right? Who is this child going to be? And what is our relationship? Yeah. What's the most important thing? Nothing is more important than your relationship, right?
Yeah.
The spilt milk, the tired child, getting your socks on in the morning. Sometimes these things are all going to seem like small beans when your child is a 20-year-old and they're terrified of you one day and they freeze up in the room when you walk in and they won't talk to you. These are the things that you want to establish, this close relationship where they can come to you and talk to you about everything in the world. This is the relationship and the foundation that you want to form these connections and have that relationship, right? This is what's all important, but not to take away how hard it is in the moment. Yeah. To still, sometimes it's hard to make those connections, but slowing down, it's hard to slow down in those moments. Take note of your breath, breathing for yourself and observing just what your child is doing, right? I believe there was this philosopher, an Indian philosopher, I'm blanking on his name, but he said that observation is the highest form of intelligence, observation without judgment. Yeah. Sometimes just observing the child, I notice you're sad, and, without words yet. And there's this huge long process that we go through in the class that I probably don't have time to go through in this show. But once you get through this process of just slowing down and realizing, how old is your daughter?
She's 2.5.
Right. So always knowing how old the child is, making sure it's developmentally appropriate. Yeah. What is expected of her at this age? She's probably tired. Yeah. It's 11 o'clock, right? Yeah. What's expected of a 2-year-old, and just sort of regulating her, immediately holding her and getting her calmed down. And identifying with someone's needs, right? And their feelings and their needs. When you identify with someone's needs, you will always connect with them. You will not alienate them by demanding or making judgments, and they will automatically feel connected that way. Sometimes when you're making judgments and demands of people, you're immediately alienating. That instantly puts people on the attack of feeling like they will either submit or they will rebel. And that goes for people of any age, children included. Like, I demand that you go to bed. I demand that you eat that dinner. They're either going to go, okay. And that's not necessarily, it seems like what you want in the moment, but it's not what you want in the long term, or they rebel. But connecting with their needs and saying, I'm wondering if you're needing some more time to calm yourself down. I'm wondering if you're needing some more time to play. Even if you got it wrong, even if you connect with that wrong need, them just realizing that you're taking the time to notice what's alive in them and appreciate that and realize you're noticing what's important to them. That is going to be so important to them and meaningful that you've already won. Even if it's wrong. Connecting with someone's needs, even if it's wrong, is more important than trying to ask what they think.
I really like that. I just, you're a parent. You have two. I have
two children.
2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Maya and Malia.
Yes, they're 7 and 5.
And that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old as well.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. Do you ever lose it?
All the time.
You do? Okay.
All the time.
So it's not just me.
No, but like she said, it's, everybody has a breaking point. And, you try your best. That's what at least I aim for. I try my best. I want to do my best. And I constantly, I remind myself, that's my child and I love her. You know, I have to constantly remind myself, because when I, get into that zone and I'm like running a deadline, I have to send that email to my manager who's sitting in New York and she wants it right now. Or Rizwan is texting me and he's telling me, put this up on Facebook. We have a show and you're not promoting it. So, and then I have a child who's saying, oh, but Daddy, where's my wand? And, I mean, that's not a extreme example, but whatever causes that stress, even if I am at that breaking point, I want to remind myself, and it's so hard. I want to remind myself that this is someone who I love and who I would give my life for. And if I'm willing to give my life for that person without even any hesitation, why can't I take a moment and just not go into that instinct of screaming and shouting? I have been trying to work on that, and it's so hard, but I'm getting there. Because, we different schools of thought. I just wanted to ask you, are we going to a break, or are we
have go ahead and ask your question. Then
I guess the thank you. That was Michael Stark from the House of Stark, and also cousin of Tony Stark in the booth. Did you? And so, what are the other forms of violence? In that there's physical violence. Is it?
That's a good question. We consider violence anything that hurts the mind, body, or spirit of any living thing or child in the terms of nonviolent parenting. So these can take the form of, mind, body, spirit, shaming, name calling. Let's see. So that would be belittling, criticizing. Guilting, absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of some of the things that seem like obvious violence are the physical stuff, right?
Right.
But some of the more violent language that really, harms people is, this sort of moralizing and criticizing and demanding and demeaning sort of stuff that uses power over people in relationships rather than power with.
Words can have a lot of power, and
Right.
that's why we have to be very careful what we say. Easier said than done. And, I think most of us as parents, we're always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Is it okay to be? Is it okay to be like what you said, that when you're hitting somebody at the playground or whatever, and you don't want to.
Wait a minute, who are you hitting at the playground?
No, he was saying about the child hitting another child in the in the playground, and you don't. How do you remove them from that situation and still be firm that this is not okay without shaming them or embarrassing them? Because they still have to know that this is not okay. Like you said, you inform them that this is
Right.
not the situation. I feel like any way that you would take them out of that situation is in a little way it's going to embarrass them a little bit. It's going to shame them a little bit. But is that a mild consequence to the fact that you need to explain to them that this is not okay?
There's definitely there's safety issues, right? There's children being hurt and physically hit.
Yeah.
So you don't want that as well. You don't want any child being hit. And I think that needs to actually be, interceded and stopped there. So I think sometimes children, that's our job as parents and adults, is to be their emotional coach and model.
Yeah.
There's sometimes you have to, again, look at the age of the child. Where are they at in their development? How
Yeah.
old are they? Sometimes children are at a certain age where they don't have the language, the brain development, the capacity to find the words. And so they're using their physicality to express themselves because they're at a loss for words. So you have to understand, why are children being physical?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because, every behavior is an expression of an unmet need. So
Yeah.
you have to figure out, what is this child who's hitting?
Yeah.
What is their unmet need underneath that?
Yeah.
However, you do need to address the fact that children are being hurt. So you might want to gently sort of, I'm going to help you physically move your
say
body
that
from that,
because
right?
That's one of the things we learned at our preschool, was that if somebody's hitting someone, or if it's just a full-blown tantrum, like, even if it's a child is by him or herself, and we say, so I'm going to help you move your body, and we lift them up or take them out of that situation. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, I mean, with caution, of course, because sometimes when children are in a hitting mode, if they're
Right.
continuing to hit, they might still be hitting, and they might need to like cycle this out of their body because physically there's some, chemical stuff going on in their body where
Yeah.
they just need to get that anger out, and they may need to hit a pillow or hit something else. I'm observing. You make observations once again, just
Yeah.
of what you're seeing with your eyes. I'm seeing that you're hitting. Do you feel like hitting? Are your body's not done hitting, but you can't hit people? Do you need to hit a pillow? Do you need to hit something else?
Yeah.
It's not okay to hit people. At that time when a child is in that state, there's nothing that you're going to be able to say that's going to really get into their brain
Yeah.
because they're not in a part of their brain where anything can get in.
But sometimes it's not even a full blown. Like it sounds like
Yes,
a
that kind
tantrum
of
when you
hit,
don't
but
like
it's
the word
just one
tantrum.
hit.
But it's just like he took my toy, or
Right.
this is that thing, and it's not been blown up, but you still wanna express right in that moment because you
And the
also,
safety.
as a parent, you don't want, because other parents around, you don't want them to feel like you didn't handle the situation with your
Right,
child.
right.
So there's a whole bunch of politics that's going on also with
I
the
know.
parents, and you didn't do this and you didn't do
I
that.
know. And then there's always that too. The other parents you're always your own child's advocate though, right? Like other parents are always going to be staring and making judgments, and that's always so difficult, I think, as a parent. But you have to remember that you are your child's advocate, and always being.
That's one of the things I've always noticed, including in myself, is that a lot of the stuff we do is because we want to give this good impression to the rest of the world, and
Right.
especially with the other parents. And it's almost like, oh, how do I come across in that situation?
Yeah.
I come across. I have a hard. I either will yell or I'll, which is the worst thing to do is laugh when something bad happens because you're giving the wrong impression. That my son at preschool, so they have nap time, and he was I think he likes this young girl that they all sleep in these cots, and he was using his blanket to
Oh,
bother
that's
her.
so cute.
And then the
I mean, not
Yeah.
hitting
well,
him.
it was So the teacher had said, told him you can't do that. And then when we came to pick him up, we were informed that this is what he was doing, and we felt like at that point we handled it appropriately and said, look, this is not okay. Miss, you shouldn't do this. Miss Monica doesn't. Oh my God. Well, that's the name of his teacher. Miss Monica said she doesn't like we use the words Miss Monica doesn't like this. So
Miss Monica is a generic word, and we're not
Monica.
mentioning the school, so it's all good.
Well, the next day, during nap time, Miss Monica had a break. She left. There was another teacher, and he did it again. And we came to school, and the other teacher said to us, "This is what happened." And we said, "We thought we spoke to you about this yesterday." And he said, well, I waited till Miss Monica was gone because that's
Right.
exactly what he thought.
Exactly.
He's like, he thought that it was Miss Monica that was
Just
the problem. Just
because-
Miss Monica being there was the problem. Him hitting her with the blanket
Right,
was
because
totally
there's
okay.
something still unresolved.
And
in it.
of course, I
Right.
started laughing, which was completely inappropriate because I thought it was the funniest thing.
Chip of the old block. It kind of reminds me of someone. You. Okay, I think.
We are going to go to a break, but I hope you'll join us when we get back and talk about some fun stuff. You're
Thank
listening
you.
to The Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM,
Thanks.
Hollywood's Bollywood station. We'll be back with Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM. If you're interested in submitting a topic, sponsoring a segment, or advertising on the show, send an email to contact@desi980am.com. That's contact@desi980am.com.
Find us on Facebook and keep up with everything Desi at facebook.com/Desi980am.
Hey, come a little closer, baby. Baby, baby, wanna steal your heart away.
Welcome back to The Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station. I'm Rizwan Manji.
And I'm Ismail Bashi. Sorry, I was just dancing away. I like that music that was leading in.
We're back, and in the last segment, we were talking to Emily Mariano, who is a teacher of nonviolent parenting. Actually, I want to start right away with we talked for a while about the classes that you have, and I'd like to know if, I wanted to take your
Yeah, how
classes
does
or
one get a
anyone who's
hold of
listening.
you? How do they contact you? If somebody's interested, how does that work?
They can go to my website, girafferoad.com. there's information on the classes there, and you can sign up right there onto the class and sign up on the website for the classes. The next session begins in the fall, I believe September 14th.
Yeah.
It's for 9 weeks.
Okay.
And also there's other helpful links there too.
Is it in the Valley?
Yes.
Okay.
This one is in the Valley.
Okay. And Giraffe Road, I was reading a little bit about it. Tell me how the giraffe comes into play, because I think that was very interesting to me.
Yeah. I came up with that name because in Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication, he uses the animal, the giraffe, and the animal, the jackal, to symbolize two different forms of communication. So the giraffe is the language of nonviolent communication, and then the jackal is the language of the dominant dominant violent communication. So the reason he picked the giraffe is because the giraffe has the largest heart of any land mammal. So the giraffe symbolizes open communication, connecting communication, and is always seeking, ways to communicate and being open to curious and connecting. The jackal is an animal who is competitive and although, not to slight the animal of the jackal, I always feel a little awkward doing this for any animal rights people.
The jackal support group.
As one of my friends in nonviolent parenting says, the jackal loves his pups too, which I always think is a good point. But the jackal represents, jackal behavior, sort of judgmental and being critical, and that sort of, side of us that we have the tendency towards being that of one we're trying to sort of work against a bit and towards our parenting of, being nonviolent.
That's great. So girafferoad.com and classes start September 14th.
Yes.
And for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know you had some other questions.
I just have, I guess, one question, and I'm sure you must have, you probably heard that question before. Like, are there people who are sort of, like dismissive of the whole concept of nonviolent parenting, or if you mention that, they're like, that doesn't work for me? And I guess it's a two-part question, or maybe a three-part question. The one thing that I recently read, I think it was on your social media feed, which kind of resonated with me and stayed in my head, was the way you speak to your children will be their inner voice. Sorry, I'm an Indian, I say voice.
Can I let you know?
The way you speak to your children will be your inner voice when they grow up. Can you tell us a little about that? And then we can talk about,
Yeah, right. That quote. Yeah, I think...
Like, if you scream at them, or if you're always demeaning or disparaging to, them, when they grow up, will they have, like, insecurities because of that, or...
Right. I think it speaks to the sort of profound importance that we play as a role as a parent, and how that we being their first models of how they develop their inner voice, their sort of inner voice of themselves. Their first impressions are made of their life. I mean, the brain has an incredible capacity to heal, but all of our first, connections and love, relationships and how we learn about loving and relating to people all comes from our parents, right? So,
but isn't that? I guess that's also, if there's no sense of confrontation at all, if it's all in this sort of, I don't know what word I'm trying to say, but simmering thing where there's no confrontation. Life is not like that, right? Like when they go out when they're not interacting with their parents, when they're interacting with kids in high school.
So are you saying that they might not be prepared for the real world?
Yeah, prepared for confrontation.
Right. Okay. So are you saying that in a child who would be raised non-violently wouldn't be prepared?
I mean, I guess when you say it's hard because I know what you mean by the broader
Yeah.
sense of nonviolent, but like if there's no sense of like confrontation with your parents, like, oh, these are the rules and this is what happens and this is how you, if there's none of that, then when they go out into like the real world and they realize that people don't react to them that way. They don't behave like they're going to be told. They're going to be told at their jobs. They're going to be told at school. They're going to be told that this is what's going on.
Are you saying like limits and stuff?
Exactly.
Right?
Like where
Okay.
in a way where you're like, and if you do step out of line, you will be shamed for what you do, or you will be called out for what you do, and you will be spoken to in a stern manner if you do.
Right.
And then they're not prepared for that because every time they've done stuff that's sort of not conforming to the rules in a way, they've been.
But as
Right,
children or as adults?
If
As
as
adults,
children, what happens when they're adults because they're not prepared for
because
this?
because
see.
you're thinking that maybe they won't be prepared. Well, nonviolent parenting, just to be clear, is absolutely not permissive parenting.
Yes.
And through the classes, as people go through it, they will learn that if you put this up against a dominant culture parenting class, this has a lot more tools and a lot more structure to it than any other class out there. I go through this in 9 weeks, but I could actually make it much longer. It has quite a lot of limits. It has ways to children born without limits do not feel safe.
Yeah.
Children need boundaries to feel safe, and nonviolent parenting does believe in creating that for children.
Yeah.
So it's not that they don't have that. And children raised hopefully non-violently, and I do encourage people to try to live this way, although it is not the dominant culture yet, will raise children to actually be self-reliant and grow out there stronger in the world. I don't think it does children any advantage to be raised violently to go out into a violent world. I think raising children to be non-violent to go out into a violent world will create a more non-violent world.
Do you recommend that? I know you mentioned TV and film and stuff like that, and we were talking about Zootopia. And do you not recommend watching any of this stuff? Because there is. Did you guys see Zootopia or?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I personally am just very careful with what I show my children in terms of violence. I think it's surprising how many cartoons children's shows I can take my children to, and then there'll be like something that's like violent, it's inescapable, but I talk to my children about it as much as I can and just have an engaged discussion about them. I think some things are unavoidable. I do really limit in what I show them because of their age. I feel that their brains just aren't ready to see these images of violence, nor do I want them to see that.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm sheltering them from the world. It's just that I believe their brains aren't ready to see it. So when they're ready, they're ready.
Yeah.
But they're just not developmentally ready yet.
Do you think if they've accidentally watched something violent on TV? Because my daughter, it was late at night and I was watching Game of Thrones and I thought, I've put everybody to bed. And she had woken up and she had walked down and I guess she was looking for me and everybody was asleep and I was watching. This is my time to watch my show. And she just stood there and I guess for a second didn't realize what's going on. And then there was this carnage on screen. Have I scarred her for life?
Yes.
Or is there any hope for me? And is Child Protective Services going to come for me?
I don't even know what to say.
Is this a serious question?
We're both in trouble.
No.
We're both in trouble today.
The point that she just made and the question that you asked, I think it's a really valid point, and I love the answer because I think I've always been asking that question also because we our kids go to a progressive school as opposed to a traditional school, and we've always felt like, are we raising those kids that they will be ill prepared for the real world? And I think no, because even though my common sense and wisdom, the way I was raised in that culture, says, they need to be more tough and they need to be able to take the punches and blows that life's going to give you. But I think at the end of the day, if they know how to react and deal with situations, they are more prepared. Mm-hmm. And in the name, I hate to sound cheesy, but you heard Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
He said, "Love is love is love is love is love," and that's it's we have to teach them how to love. You know, I think that's our primal instinct.
It's speaking about love.
I agree with that.
Speaking
we
about,
have to teach them how to love, not how to fight.
We do. I'm not going to argue with love, but I was, we always showed affection with this like loud, bombastic. You know, I never felt like I was unloved. Do you know what I mean? I also don't feel like when I'm even getting angry or this loud, there's always love there. I don't think that there's ever not love there. You know what? I want to have you back on with a Tiger Mom, and we can have a conversation. Tiger Mom.
Battle hymn of the Tiger Mom. It'll be a battle between Amy Chua and Emily Mariano.
And then we'll have a real.
We should have a pay-per-view for that. Pay-per-view radio.
I want to thank you so much,
you so
Emily.
much.
This was so much fun. Thank you for I'm thinking about taking your classes, so it's good. GiraffeRoad.com.
I would love it. Thank you.
That's Emily Mariano talking about Giraffe Road, and we will be back after the break. We're the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station.
Hi guys, thank you for listening to the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM. If you're interested in submitting a topic, sponsoring a segment, or advertising on the show, send an email to contact@desi980am.com. That's contact@desi980am.com.
You're listening to Desi 980 AM, LA and San Diego's only Desi station.
You're listening to the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station. I'm still Rizwan.
And I'm not sure who I am anymore. But hopefully I am I'm a better person after having listened to that.
Yeah, I hope so.
That
I'm
was a
gonna go home and be nice to my children.
Listen, they might just say, "Who are you? Please go back and send us our dad."
I wanted to give a shout out to. Do you guys hear the promos about if you want to be a guest?
Yeah,
that's our my friend Shamaila. The female voice is my friend Shamaila Ismail, who did that for us last minute because we needed something to put up.
Thank you, Shamaila.
Thank you, Shamaila. Her husband did one that we rejected. I might have you guys listen to it on tomorrow's show. It is the funniest thing, but it was totally rejected. And then the male voice is our friend Sanjay Chandani,
who will be a guest tomorrow on our show.
He is going to be a guest tomorrow, and he's going to be talking about Christian Science.
We will be talking about religion tomorrow, and one of the religions.
Not really religion. It's just
okay. We will be talking about something
about
a lot of fun. No, we will be talking about the different religions of India, and one of the religions that we will be talking about is Christian Science. Because when you think of India, you think of Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Sikhism, Jainism. I mean, there are a lot of more religions, but you never. Christian Science
you
is
need
an
to name
American.
all of them right now because we are going to be really offending people.
How long do
now.
we have? Do we have a long time?
We're going to be in trouble. I'm getting a text right now from our executives going, "You are really offending."
I have actually blocked all our executives on Facebook and on text message. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And, like I said, Rizwan and I don't know much. And we do our best to impart that knowledge to you.
We will be back tomorrow from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sanjay Chandani will be our guest, and we'll be talking about stuff. So, we'll see you tomorrow. We're the Brown Guys on Desi 980 AM, Hollywood's Bollywood station.
You're listening to Desi 980 AM, KFWB, Los Angeles and San Diego, Hollywood's Bollywood station.